Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the best destroyers that you can play in this ranked battle. Specifically, this season is based on tier 9 and tier 10. If I can show you quickly, in the ranked battle current season with the rules, you can see here that the Silver League and the Gold League consist of tier 9 and tier 10 ships. If you get up to the Bronze League to Silver, you will be able to pick tier 10 ships, and hence the reason why I'm making this video just for all of you guys, so you can easily able to decide which ship is the best for your ranked season. And some of them are really good, and the fifth one, because I rate them from fifth number all the way back to the number 1, because some of them are really powerful, even broken and even overpowered. So the first ship is going to be Elbing. I think Elbing is very much underrated. It's actually really good destroyer, okay? It kind of works like a light cruiser. You can say that it's a destroyer because its concealment is really bad. 8 kilometer base, not base, it's like even higher than that. But yeah, actually it's 8 kilometer base, so you can just improve it to like 6.4-ish kilometers, 6.5. But Elbing has definitely worse concealment, so you cannot outspot destroyers. On the other hand, what do you have in your arsenal is pretty good HP at 34,000 with survivability expert, which does help a lot in its survivability because it is some of the highest at this tier. Also, the best thing about the Elbing, and if you are really trying to grind this line, I think it's really worth it. And the reason is the most accurate destroyer guns that they have given for a tech tree destroyer. I'm talking about these laser accurate guns with really good shell velocity, and the dispersion is actually better than destroyers in the game. Why? Because it has a special dispersion formula which reduces it even further than what typically destroyers get with their dispersion formula, which is right now you can see here at base 13.3 kilometers you have 57 meter dispersion, which means all of the shells that you throw on any battleship, especially on the superstructure, most likely they will all hit on that superstructure, which is insane. The shell velocity is extremely good. The AP actually has really good penetration. The AG is decent in its fire chance with armor penetration capacity of 38mm, which means that you can actually pen French battleships, American battleships, and even British battleships. So that's one of the strengths of Elbing really is. The reload time might be on the higher side, but you can always build it for Fearless Brawler. And also with the range and main battery AA specialist, you can actually have some better DPM on the Elbing guns. The guns are extremely accurate. It has torpedoes for its defense, even though these torpedoes are some of the slowest at 50 knots, but the concealment of their torpedoes are pretty good at 1.2 kilometers. The damage is pretty decent. I won't say it's really high. It's not comparable to Shimakaze. Shimakaze is insane in those torpedo damage. But again, these torpedoes are pretty good. They are kind of work like sea mines, so you just throw them. And if there is a battleship that is trying to come across those torpedoes, well, they will definitely going to not able to dodge them unless they have a hydro running, which hydro actually is a good counter against these Elbing tops since they are pretty slow at 50 knots. But overall, I try to make this Elbing with the steering gears mod too, because I just want to play it as a gunboat long range farmer, because that's the strength of Elbing. Even with the range mod, you can get up to like 16 kilometers, and with this HE spam, that is not really good. Like 1800 alpha damage isn't gonna be the best in the world, but the fire chance is good. So if someone just DCP, you can just switch to HE. But if someone broadside, especially like a light cruiser, it can very easily settle them. Like even the Des Moines can be easily settled at like 10 or 12 kilometers. So the EP pen is actually bonkers for a destroyer. And obviously, if you're really thinking of air defense, as you can see here, it has defensive fire, but it's not really that good compared to the best air destroyer like Holland, which has really good medium A and long range A gun damage. Elbing is like maybe 20% of that. So the damage output is pretty terrible. The base numbers here that you are seeing, it's pretty bad, even though the range is good at 6.9 kilometers. But with defensive A, it can go slightly higher, which might touch around 120-ish, for medium range, which is again not really impressive. So A is actually really not that good. So the tier 10 carriers will definitely going to do a lot of damage, especially with the big hull that it has. Although it has one more thing going for it, which is the armor. If there is a destroyer that has started shooting you with HE, well, this 25mm armor plating does make sure that a lot of HE will shatter, and hence the reason why Elbing is pretty good. But obviously it's gonna get outspotted by those destroyers. If they try to shoot you with HE, well, they will not gonna be able to do much damage with this good armor plating. Even the Smaland with the light caliber HE shells are also not able to do some damage to Elbing. But again, it's a big amount of the shells that Smaland throw at Elbing will definitely going to hurt, because it's a big ship. It's almost like a light cruiser but not having a citadel. So if you understand your anti-defenses, which are not good, if you utilize the speed boost really well, and try not to eat torpedoes because it's really vulnerable against those torps, so keep that in mind. If you utilize the smoke and you use it at long range gunboating against battleships and cruisers, Elbing will absolutely be amazing, and it can sometimes carry really well. I won't say it's like having the carry potential of a Smaland maybe, which is one of the broken ships in this entire game, but still Elbing has some value going for it, especially if you use the legendary mod, which increases the speed boost up to from 8 to 20% and even improves the third traverse, which is not really the best. But these are the details that I would like to put on Elbing. It's a good destroyer. You should pick it. It will be a lot much more fun. The accuracy is amazing, so you will have a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about another destroyer, which I will also gonna rate it at number 5, although this is like an alternate pick, because I would say it's kind of having the resemblance of Elbing in terms of its gunpowder. I would say it has some differences. This French tier 10 tech 3 destroyer, Kleber, is also really powerful. Okay, the guns, you have 8 of them instead of 6. It has destroyer dispersion. It has maximum range of 13.6 base. I'm not using the range mod, which shows that it has already really good main battery firing range. Your speed is amazing. Unlike Elbing does not have really good speed. It has the base speed of what? 46.2 knots with speed flag, and also if you use the engine boost, it can go up to 55 knots, which is crazy. And then the difference between the Elbing and Kleber is the pen is actually a bit low, but it's not like really low. The AP is actually pretty devastating against cruisers if you're able to get to their broadside from like 8 to 10 kilometers. Even the light cruisers does have more chance of getting citadel above 10 kilometers. But yeah, the AP is definitely not that good like compared to compared to the Elbing. But it does have some decent alpha and a lot of shells that you can throw because you have 8 guns. But on top of that, you have main battery reload booster. As you can see that the concealment, if you build fully for it, it's actually worse than Elbing at 7.8 kilometers. And that's why you are not going to be easily able to outspot the destroyers. In fact, you can't, because most destroyers have around 6 kilometers or even less than 6 kilometers of concealment. So what you should do, if you have any opportunity and it gets spotted, a destroyer made a mistake, it gets spotted, you just use main battery reload booster, unlike Elbing, and you will just farm that destroyer extremely quickly, because your DPM, which is around 6 seconds of reload time, will go down to half. And which basically makes the Kleber guns pretty devastating. I mean, you can just easily chew them up with 15 seconds of main battery reload booster. It's a really good package, guys. The another thing about the torpedoes, Elbing does have 13.5 kilometer tops. It has only 8 kilometers. But the best thing about the Kleber that it has speed, and it has 7.8 kilometer concealment. So you can actually try to torp those battleships that are pushing towards you, and a cruiser that are hugging the islands. And if you have any opportunity, you send a lot of torpedoes, because you have 12 of them, 6 on each side. So the reload time is also pretty impressive at 77 seconds. And damage is also really good at 18.4, better than Elbing again. So it has some niche, different compared to Elbing, because those are sea mine like torps. They are faster torpedoes and they really hit hard. So you're just actually able to get some floods if you hit onto the bow of those battleships. So you can just do pretty decent damage with the speed you have. You can farm them just like Elbing in a different way. The survivability also is pretty good, slightly less than Elbing. But the interesting thing about the Kleber, that it has a French saturation mechanic. And what I meant by that is the more damage that you take, the more parts of the hull will be saturated in such a way that you will take half damage over time. Usually that does not happen with any other destroyers. Only the Kleber, Marceau, and those French destroyers does have built-in French saturation, you can call it. It's basically have a flavor in nation, and it's actually pretty good, increasing overall potential of its HP. It looks like 25,000, but it's technically more than that because of that saturation, because you will take half damage at some point once you have taken enough damage. So that's what Kleber really is. Insanely good reload booster. You can set fires, your fire chance is 10% base, so you can already expect, and the alpha damage is pretty good. The shell velocity is very much comparable to Elbing, maybe slightly worse. It's very close, and that's why I put both of these destroyers at number 5. Maybe someone would say that it should be at number 4, but I believe that there are other good options which I will definitely gonna be showing you at number 4. Alright, so at number 4 we have Hayate, which is a tier 10 Japanese premium destroyer. You can actually get it for coal, and Hayate is a really good alternate to the Shimakaze. Shimakaze is a pure torpedo boat which has the similar guns like Hayate has, but Hayate has something which is, I would say, better, and that is it has better guns reload time. You can see here with my build it's almost 3 seconds, which is impressive. The Shimakaze on the other hand, with these same guns having less range, and the reload time is 5.7 seconds, and that's the biggest reason why you should pick Hayate in ranked battles. I just switch it to ranked just for reasons. Well, now the reason why you should pick Hayate, obviously the guns are a lot much more having better reload time than Shimakaze. The range is almost similar. I didn't realize it. The range is similar, but the torpedoes, instead of 15 which Shimakaze has, it has only 10. And you might be say that okay, the reload time is even worse maybe than Shimakaze. The torpedoes are pretty similar at 12 kilometer range that you typically use on Shimakaze. So what it does have, well, to compensate for that, they have given it torpedo reload booster. So you can actually send not only 10, but after 8 seconds, you can send another salvo of these 10 devastating torpedoes, which you usually get on Shimakaze. You also get on Hayate, and these are really hard-hitting torpedoes. So if you still like the Shimakaze, but you want some really good gun power with actually quite a really worse concealment, the concealment is one of the reasons why the Hayate felt a bit short. If it would have 5.9 kilometer concealment, it would be a lot good. But still, you will be outspotted by most destroyers, even good gunboat destroyers. But still, if they do a mistake, if they're able to get pushed up a bit in your range and they spot, you can really deal pretty devastating damage. The reload time with this is good. And the torpedoes are good, ensuring that it's like a hybrid approach that a Hayate has. So these torpedoes combined with these guns with slightly better HP at 24,300, worse maneuverability by like Shimakaze, like it has worse concealment, worse maneuverability, like turning circle is one of the problems. 750 meter is like very comparable to light cruisers. Apart from these problems and extremely poor anti-defense, and hence the reason why I'm putting it in number 4. I sometimes still I would prefer it over maybe Elbing and Kleber, because my personal preference, I like Gaijin gunboat destroyer, and it does have some niche, and that's why I am putting it at number 4. Although you can arguably say that the Kleber and Elbing might be superior, but the concealment is definitely way better than both of those ships, and that's why in the rank battle I would rating it like higher. If there are no carriers, because it's the biggest weakness. If carrier really spot you, you have to use your smoke. And another strength that it has, that you have smoke, like Elbing, you have gun power, and you have speed boost too. So you do have some good tools to deal against every ship class. And those torpedoes does pretty decent damage. And that's why I am putting Hayate at number 4. Alright, so another ship that I would highly recommend and alternate to Hayate at number 4 is going to be the F.Sherman. Now F.Sherman is available for coal right now, so you can buy and get it. And the best thing about the Sherman, the reason why you should play F.Sherman is the guns. The guns have SAP, semi-armor piercing shells, which have pretty decent alpha damage, and they do hurt a lot to any ship that broadside. And you can just spam a lot of that, because the reload time on 3 of these guns is just 1.3 seconds. So it has insane SAP DPM for a destroyer. It has also really good HE with good fire chance. So, 9% fire chance, 1.8k HE alpha. But the range is good at 12.6. The shell velocity is extremely good, like Kleber and Elbing. So if you improve the range, which I would highly recommend, and I would highly recommend the Halsey if you're possibly able to do so. Although in rank battle, Confederate is difficult, and Confederate is the reason why you should pick Halsey. So it's definitely, possible to just pick any other captain. But again, the firing range is good. The health is pretty decent at 28,000. And the only reason that F.Sherman does suffer is the concealment. Okay, because concealment is really, really bad. Okay, it is a destroyer that can just easily kill DDs with this absurd DPM that it has. But the concealment, combined with the fact that it has no speed boost and the speed is only 35.6 knots, the maneuverability is also not going to be good. So you are pretty prone to take a lot of damage if you just mess up. And your HP, it looks like to be pretty decent. It's not going to last for too long if you just slightly do a mistake. And that's where F.Sherman does suffer. Even though I would definitely say that the F.Sherman has decent defensive rate of fire, it has actually not 50% continuous damage that you typically get on other destroyers or American ships in general. Okay, it has 100% continuous damage. So which means if your base values are kind of like that, like for example it has only medium range and long range AA guns, it will go double instead of getting 1.5 time improvement, which does help a lot this Sherman. The flags are 4 of them. You can improve it to 5 if you get a fearless brawler, which I would highly recommend if you want to farm like crazy. So it's pretty good. You have a hydro and smoke combination, and that's one of the strengths of Sherman. So hydro can pick a lot of those destroyers that are in the smoke off guard, and with this insane DPM, because I'm emphasizing these guns are the bread and butter of Sherman, and hence the reason why it is really, really good. The SAP does so much damage to DD that even a Smaland or any really powerful destroyer will definitely gonna take a cover. They cannot just easily manage to kill Sherman like this unless they just completely caught off guard and getting farmed by other ship classes as well. So overall, the only issue is really bad maneuverability because of having no speed boost. Otherwise, it's really insane in dealing damage to destroyers and a good ship in general for ranked battles. Obviously, unlike Hayate, it does not have really good torpedoes. I mean, it has really bad narrow firing angles of those torpedoes, and you only can launch 2 of them from each side. So the torpedoes are pretty terrible. I mean, if you're really looking to get a ship that has good torpedoes and good firepower, Hayate is definitely a better option, but not Sherman. But if you want to just have a hydro which can caught DDOs off guard and can smoke up and farm damage like crazy, Sherman is for you. Better than Hayate in that regard. Gun power is better, way better than Hayate, but obviously the torpedo power is where it suffers. The speed boost, not having that is a big problem as well. So I would put it in number 4. Alright, so at number 3, I would recommend Z42 Destroyer, which is a really good destroyer. It's available for steel resource, so yeah, be sure to have that resource if you want to buy this ship. But honestly, this ship is really good. You have 10 guns and you have really good AP. This AP actually penetrates broadside destroyers, and this is the best thing about this ship. Not only that it has this insane good AP DPM of 2400 alpha, which you can improve with the captain if you use the extra heavy ammunition. It also has something which I would say typical of German destroyers, a smoke, but it's not a smoke that you typically get on German ships. It's a short burst smoke generator. It's that good. So which means that you can just disperse, if you use these smokes, you can just simply deploy it for short duration and you can just disengage, and the smoke will load up quickly, and you can just hydro a DD because it's a 6-kilometer hydro with the speed boost that it has, which helps a lot in speed juking those torpedoes if they come and try to punch you back. You have a hydro, but still it does help a lot to just maneuver here and there, getting towards the cap and maybe just flanking anything else. So it does help a lot. I won't say the HP is the best at 23,000, But these guns are very good. The speciality of Z42 is the AP. As I said, broadside, you will get a lot of alpha damage pumping up against destroyers. You can chunk them for like 5 to 6k volleys per salvo within like 3 or 4 seconds of reload time, just you can see here. And with the Gunther Luthians, which is highly recommended, this captain does help a lot. If you get so many shell hits, you will get a straight up buff of minus 7.5% reload time, main battery reload time, which can get it down to like 3.2 seconds of reload time, which is amazing. Short smokes are the best smokes in this entire game because you can always disengage against aircraft carriers. You can always disengage against destroyer that's outspot you, and you can always able to hydro those destroyers that are pushing into you, or you can maybe just go behind the island, contest the cap, and see the results, how he will suffer, because he won't be able to do anything about this hydro. You just keep hydroing him, and someone will ultimately, do some damage to him if he is even behind the islands and someone has the opportunity to shoot him behind the islands. The anti-defense, again, not good, but what does really help this Z42 is these short burst smoke generator. Just like I said, the game changer, the reason why you should play this destroyer, the reason why it's a steel destroyer. It has a niche. It has 6.2 kilometer concealment, by the way, and since you have 6 kilometer hydro, you can definitely able to catch those DDs off guard and just flat out make their concealment 6 kilometer because of your hydro. If the Shimakaze have 5.6 kilometer, your hydro will just easily make it to 6 kilometers, cancel or nullifying their concealment values, which is kind of crazy. The maneuverability is decent. I'm not gonna say that it's like crazy maneuverable, like you want from a nimble destroyer, but again, 38.3 knots, it's not too bad. The turning circle is okay. The rudder shift is also okay. Torpedoes is pretty average. They are so average that I think it has like tier 5 destroyer torpedoes given to tier 10 destroyer, which is unfortunate, like only 13.7k damage. So the torpedoes are not really good. They are just here to maybe get a flood or two. The speed is also pretty bad as well at 62 knots. So you can't rely on torpedoes. You have to smoke up, rely on these smokes, use guns. But as I said, you can counter destroyers really well. You can just farm battleships pretty well. If you want to use IFHE on this ship, which I would say it's interesting, because if you put the IFHE here, which I can show you here, this IFHE shells, which improves the penetration capacity or capability to like 32 millimeter, which means that you can now start to shoot on the bow of those 32 millimeter armor battleships, and you can just simply pen them. But the fire chance will definitely going to suffer, which goes down to like 2.5%. So that's one thing that you should be keeping in mind. But still, overall, at number 3, it's a really good destroyer. It can counter other destroyers amazingly, and it can definitely win the games in ranked battles. Okay, so at number 3, we also have another steel destroyer, Ragnar. And Ragnar is very interesting, okay? Now, one thing that it is pretty similar with Elbing, which I have talked about at number 5, it has pretty much the similar sort of armor layout. 25 millimeter armor plating that you can see on the side plating and on the deck, which means that the destroyers, if shoots on you, will going to most likely shatter. And this armor does help against other destroyers, unless they started to shoot AP, right? If they shoot AP, obviously it's gonna suffer quite a bit, because then all the AP will pen. Otherwise, the HE will definitely going to shatter a lot much easier on Ragnar. So definitely one of the strength of Ragnar. One more strength of Ragnar is very good HP at 30,000, and it also have heal, which obviously is pretty high. To heal up a lot of your HP, since you do have a base 30,000 HP already. So the heal will heal up like 4,000, 5,000 HP. That's pretty good. You also have emergency engine power speed boost, which gives the maximum speed of crazy 30%, which makes Ragnar like a kind of like a Russian or French destroyer, to be honest, because the speed is 36.8, with the speed flag. And you can get it up to like 47 knots if you use this engine boost, which does help a lot in speed juking shells if you are trying to farm cruisers. And I will talk about the farming, but let me talk about the radar. The radar is the game changer. The Ragnar can actually counter destroyers the best way possible. I won't say you will be able to kill them with the single radar, but you can just definitely going to have a really good trade with these 4 guns, okay? So with this decent HP and the armor that I have talked about, it will definitely gonna be having good time against destroyers, especially like Shimakaze or Gearing, or the destroyers like Z-52 or Daring. Those will not going to be able to utilize their smokes because of the radar. Radar is 30 seconds, so definitely going to help Ragnar a lot. The guns, the problem with the guns here, that it has, I won't say the best of the reload time in the world, but the accuracy is pretty much similar to Elbing because it has a lot of characteristics like Elbing. The alpha damage, although compared to Elbing, is significantly higher at 2.2k with 11% fire chance. The AP is also pretty decent at 3000 alpha damage, which is again roughly, it's actually worse than Elbing. But again, the reason why you should play Ragnar is not the AP, but also you should utilize the radar and kill destroyers, which helps you win the games in ranked battles. And also one of the strength of Ragnar compared to Elbing is really strong anti-air defense, okay? We're talking about the medium range A guns, which is 4 kilometer firing range. If the carrier try to farm you around 4 kilometers in and trying to drop you some payload, well, this anti-air defense definitely going to shred a lot of planes. It has insane, the best anti-air defense, medium range defense at this tier, okay? So you will be shooting down a lot of planes, even without defensive air fire, like, right? The Elbing has pretty bad base AA ranges or like damage output, but the Ragnar has absurd. It has almost like a light cruiser like medium range damage on its guns, or on these AA guns, which is amazing. And your firing range might not be impressive for long range, like if you try to shoot long range AA guns, it's really the worst. Actually, it has like extreme of 2 things, okay? It has medium range AA guns that are absurd and the long range AA guns that are just absolutely garbage. So yeah, try to just turn off your AA whenever possible, and when the planes are within 4 kilometers, then you started to see that the planes will shot down pretty much. And that's one of the strengths of Ragnar with radar. The guns, you have only 4 of them, okay? Your reload time is again like slightly above average, but again it has a special dispersion formula which is gonna make him better than, you know, most destroyers. You can easily able to land so many shells onto the superstructure, which does help Ragnar a lot. And with this range, if you want to build it, it will be pretty good. But at long ranges, again, the shell velocity is not gonna be like Elbing, okay? It will lose a lot of that shell speed, and that's where it also started to get suffer compared to Elbing and Kleber. So even if you used like base of what 13.3 13.6 kilometer base range it has on Ragnar, if you utilize that much enough range, that should be also good. But that's totally up to you. I would highly recommend to use the concealment expert, because the concealment will go down to 7.5 kilometers. So the radar 7.5 kilometer, also the concealment 7.5 kilometer means that you can absolutely spot the other destroyer whenever it gets into your radar range, because your concealment is also 7.5 kilometer with radar. So that's the reason why you should play Ragnar. You have 30mm pen, which I haven't talked about. It has 152mm guns, so you can easily penetrate all the platings of cruisers, so especially like Des Moines or any other cruiser that has 30mm dark armor, like the Hindenburg and Zau. So those are pretty vulnerable against Ragnar guns. So with this DPM that it has, you can farm them also pretty well. So at number 3, it's really good, but it's not like number 1. There are some other destroyers out there, like I would talk about them later, but Z-42 and Ragnar seems to be pretty good at number 3. Okay, so at number 2, we have a Tech 3 destroyer, British destroyer, that is Tier 10 Daring. I'm quite sure a lot of players know that how Daring is fun to play, and it is extremely flexible destroyer at this tier, okay? Let's talk about this ship, okay? We have 24,000 HP, which is pretty decent for a destroyer. It has heal, it has hydro, but it's not like 5 kilometers, but it still have 3 kilometer tops, 3 kilometer hydro, which does help a lot in those torpedo detection that you might eat. Okay, it also has one of the best smoke generator. Short burst smoke generator is so amazing, not only on Z42 but also on Daring. But then compared to Z42, it's also kind of having like, really good guns. But 6 of them instead of 10, the reload time is significantly better at 2.3 seconds. So with this a short burst smoke generator combined with the fact that it has HE shells that does have a decent fire chance, and also the AP that actually penetrate destroyer on broadside, because it has I think short fuse AP. So you will be able to deal really good damage to broadside destroyers. You can just absolutely smash them if they're able to do so. And with the heal that you have, if you have taken some decent damage, you can heal some of your HP back, which does help so much in winning games in ranked battle. Okay, you have these smokes, you can farm battleships and cruisers, you have the opportunity to kill destroyers, and if you try to use Andrew Cunningham, which I would highly recommend on Daring, you can increase the consumables from 7 to 8, from 3 to 4 by just having 2 kills, which is definitely possible in ranked battles every single game if you know what you're doing. Okay, the guns, just like I said, really good. The HE will able to penetrate onto the superstructure. It has 90mm pen. That is just enough to penetrate the superstructure of battleships, so you don't need to use IFH or any other bullshit on that tearing. But you also have AP, just like I said, really good on broadside, not only on destroyers but also on other targets, because it will simply going to penetrate a lot whenever it has this penetration capacity onto the broadsides. You also have torpedoes. Now torpedoes are kind of interesting. It has pretty much similar damage compared to like Elbing, for example. Only 10 kilometers. The concealment range, the concealment of the torpedoes itself is pretty good. The speed is average. I won't say it's amazing, but one thing that Daring does have is the single launch torpedo power. You can just point and click to that cruiser that is around the island or corner of the island, for example like the Des Moines or Petropavlovsk, and you can just send single launch torpedoes one by one by one, 10 of them, which means that they're most likely going to eat a lot of torpedoes if you aimed perfectly. And if they stay there around the island, they will definitely going to get doomed by these Daring torpedoes, which is really good strength in ranked battles. Also, the concealment is 6 kilometers, which is pretty competitive, I would say. I mean, it will still going to be outspotted by a lot of those torpedo boat destroyers, but still, it's very, very close. So, for example, if Hayate and Sherman, if I talk about them, you can actually outspot them, okay? If you can barely able to, get spotted by Yu Yang and other ships out there. Shimakaze can definitely outspot you. Daring can still outspot you, but again, you are having a lot of gunpowder and you can just farm them if they do a mistake. Anti-defense is bad, but again, these short smokes are really good. You can smoke up and you just say hush hush to a carrier for at least 40-50 seconds, and I'm quite sure he won't wait for too long and he will just attack someone else. Maybe he would put the fighter plane on top of you, which you can shot down with this amount of air defense. The anti-defense is pretty garbage. I would say it's not really good at all. But again, short smokes does helping him a lot. I mean, you can just spam and farm battleships pretty easily. Cruisers pretty easily, destroyers you can kill them. You can definitely carry games with having extra HP by using repair parties. So that's the package that Daring has, and it's available for free. Like, it's a tech tree destroyer, you can grind it simply and you just get it in your port, and you can play it in rank battle and you can win really good games. So definitely recommend it at number 2. The alternate destroyer, I would say, which I'm quite sure a lot of players, if they have not grinded out the dockyard event, they won't be even know what Lushun really is. But Lushun is a destroyer. They have put that on a dockyard event, and if you have this ship, consider yourself lucky, because it is also one of the best destroyer in ranked battles. And the reason why that it is good, it has insane super heal. You can heal back like around 8,000 HP in this Pan-Asian destroyer, okay? And you have 3 heals. And the fact is that Lushun can able to heal 60% of the penetration damage. So it's not 50%, but 60%, which means that the utilization of super heal would be a lot much more efficient. You can heal back a lot of your HP because of that thing. 60% penetration damage that you can heal back. Definitely going to help a lot with this heavy repair teams. And you have Hydro, okay? The concealment for a gunboat destroyer, because it's a pure gunboat destroyer, okay? This ship having really good AP. I mean, the AP DPM is like top 5 or top 4 at this tier, at tier 10. And HE is the only thing that it kind of suffers from. Like HE alpha is pretty terrible. The fire chance is pretty bad. But if you're able to smash AP on broadside cruisers and battleships, well, you started to see why Lushun is a really good gunboat destroyer, okay? If you have any chance on hitting onto the superstructure of battleships, because again, Lushun is really good in terms of shell velocity as well, okay? The shell velocity is very much comparable to Kleber, or I would say even closer to Elbing. So the shells are going to be easily landing up even at 15 kilometers. So very comfortable gunboat destroyer. You started to farm battleship at 14 kilometers away. You utilize this super heal if you feel really much intense environment against destroyers that are shooting you. And I mean, you have pretty much very like amazing concealment for a gunboat destroyer. And you have a Hydro which is 5.5 kilometers, which means again, if there are DDs like Gering and Shimakaze smoking right around that 5.5 kilometer area, you can just simply Hydro them and you can just counter them pretty hard. So the smoke is not going to be really useful against them. Oh, sorry, for them. I won't say against them. They won't be able to utilize the smoke at all. Another strength of Lushun. The torpedoes, I would say, compared to Yu Yang, it's actually not really good. I mean, you don't have any torpedo reload booster whatsoever. Your speed on the torpedoes is definitely worse compared to Yu Yang. Yu Yang does have really good torpedoes. You can have a speed of 76 knots. It's a torpedo boat, I get it. But again, Lushun is again a good gunboat destroyer, but also have above average torpedoes. Now these are deep water tops, which means cruiser, battleships, and carriers are the vulnerable ones. The DDs will not be able to take these torpedoes. So that's one of the weakness, I would say. But again, the concealment on these torpedoes is absurd. They won't be able to spot you unless, they won't be able to spot those torpedoes unless they have Hydro, which kind of really negates these Lushun torpedoes hard. But overall, Lushun is good. I mean, you can just easily farm destroyers, even at ranges, and if it gets spotted around 5.8 kilometers, for example, the Daring, the Gering, all of these destroyers, if they get spotted, you can just farm them and start to pop the heal, and you won't die, they die, because they can't take that much firepower. It's not possible for them to just kill the Lushun like this. On the other hand, you don't have smoke and you don't have speed boost, so it's a very not that maneuverable destroyer. And your speed juking capabilities are limited, but again, it does not mean that is the end of the world. You can still use this super heal to the best possible way. The guns does have really good shell velocity, as I said above, and the concealment as well as the maneuverability is pretty decent. 38 knots of speed. Turning circle is a bit weird at 700 meters. It could be better, but again, these are some of the things that you have to get away from Lushun. And otherwise, it's a good ship. The only problem with the Lushun again is the anti-defense. Anti-defense, if the carriers really hate you, you will able to do nothing in that game. The reason why, because it does not even come up with smoke. Okay, and if there are midway planes with the HE bombers, consider yourself dead. I mean, you sure do have heavy repair party. This super heal does help so much against carriers that try to do some damage on you, but again, they will definitely going to limit your aggression against enemy team, which is a problem. Like, you want to push into destroyer smoke, and if the carry comes up with this entire defense that is pretty bad against them, you will simply going to lose against those destroyers, and they will definitely able to farm you in smoke even if they are a bit further than 5.5 kilometers. So yeah, still I would say if not carriers, it's number 2. If carriers, it might be like around number 3 or number 4 or something. It's not gonna be number 2 otherwise. But still, if you have this ship, consider yourself lucky and please play this ship. It's really good in ranked battles. So finally at number 1, we have I would say it's not surprising. It's one and only Smaland. A rare ship, you cannot have it. Unfortunate, right? But again, I have to explain the strengths if you really have this destroyer, or if you want to counter against this destroyer. How to play against this ship, even though it's really difficult, I'm telling you that. But Smaland is a pan-European destroyer. It's not available. It was available for 2 million free XP. But if you don't have it, you can get it from the Santa boxes, those Satan boxes, if you are thinking of getting it. Because it's the most broken destroyer in this game. Why? Survivability. Let's talk about this ship, okay? 22,700 is decent. I won't say it's the best, but again, you have heals. You have 4 heals, and they heal around like 4,200 HP or something. So you have like, what, 36, 37,000 HP maybe? If you utilize all the heals, which is really good, like your healing capabilities are pretty good. And just like Ragnar, it has surveillance radar. Now, not for 30 seconds, but only 20 seconds. But again, it has again the same thing like Ragnar, which is the speed, which is gonna significantly increase it to, like with 30% speed plus over your base speed, which is again the similar. But one thing that it has different compared to Ragnar is it has smaller caliber guns, way better reload time, almost double the better reload time. It's like half the reload time compared to Ragnar guns at 1.5 seconds. The firing range is pretty good with range mod, and it has really good speed boost, like I said. But why I didn't talk about the Ragnar, it does not come up with torpedoes. Smaland has torpedoes, right? This is way better. Like Smaland has torpedoes, which means these torpedoes are pan-European torpedoes. They are fast. They does not hurt that much, but they are fast, and they are not easy to spot and dodge, okay? Really big value over Ragnar, okay? The guns, as I said, insane DPM. Some of the best DPM in this entire game, combined with the fact that it has radar, combined with the fact that it has, I think, 6.2 kilometer concealment. If you fully built the Smaland for the guns, for the concealment, you can get it up to 6.2. But why do you really build it for concealment? Since you do have a 20 seconds of radar, right? You just simply build it for guns, and your DPM will go absurd once you use this special Fearless Brawler skill. It will go even better, and you can just simply pop radar. Because once you get spotted at 6.8 kilometer concealment, you can simply pop the radar and you just make those destroyers, even if they are at 7.5 kilometers, get spotted, and you just absolutely smash them with this insane DPM. Extremely better DPM compared to Ragnar, but Ragnar has special dispersion. It still have destroyer dispersion and 4 of the guns. The shell velocity is also slightly worse compared to Ragnar. So these are the things that make Smaland somewhere not good, but most of the time it's better than Ragnar. Okay, most areas it's way better. Maneuverability is tons better with the speed boost. Also, that I haven't talked about in Ragnar, their cooldown time is significantly higher. 180 seconds, 120 seconds, and 80 seconds. Okay, so in the case of Smaland, the speed boost is 100 seconds, 80 seconds, and 120 seconds. So like in the case of only speed boost, I would say it's the worst. And speed boost is something that Ragnar needs the most in many situations, and that's where it just kind of suffers. Like in the case of Ragnar, it has definitely way worse cooldown time. So this is something that you should be keeping in mind. Overall, the numbers are pretty good. The heal potential is, I would say, better in Ragnar. But again, Smaland, just like Ragnar, has some of the best anti-air defense in this game, okay? It's comparable to Holland, which is the best anti-air destroyer in this game, which has defensive air fire, okay? Holland has defensive air fire, but the gun DPM is pretty trash. 2.0 seconds, does not have radar. Smaland is a hard counter to destroyers, okay? With this amazing speed boost, I mean, if you utilize the speed boost mod 1, improving the speed boost, seconds to 78 seconds from 60, which is pretty good. You have torpedoes, you have extremely good anti-air defense, you can definitely able to shoot on a lot of carrier planes, and if you have Jersey Seversky, which I would highly recommend, you can have improved adrenaline rush, as well as if you shoot down 20 planes, which is definitely possible if CV is focusing you, you will have straight buff of 10% continuous air damage. So what do you want in Smaland? A superior captain and a superior destroyer, which will help win games by ton a lot. The best destroyer in this game in ranked battles. No doubt, this is the first ship that you should pick if you do have it. If you don't have it, you can always go to Ragnar, you can always go to some other ships, which I have explained. But this is number one for me. I won't say that Gdansk is number one along with Smaland, but it has a niche. It's like a Smaland and Ragnar and in between that, okay? I won't say that it's better than Smaland, but I won't say that it's worse than Ragnar. It's having its own niche. Gdansk is really good destroyer, another tech tree destroyer. So it's available right now, unlike Holland, or at least like Ragnar, it is available. And why Gdansk? Why Gdansk is so good that you might rate it like at 2 or 1.5 in terms of rating? Well, the shell velocity again. The guns are really having fast shell velocity. The range is pretty decent at 14 kilometers. You have smoke. You also have surveillance radar, which is 9 kilometers. You can spot them for like only short duration, only 10 seconds. But again, that radar does help a lot in doing pretty okay damage to destroyers. Like you can just chunk them for like 4, 5, 6, 7k volley, even sometimes 10k volley if they just definitely miscalculate the fight against you, or maybe the contest of caps that they are doing against you. If they just mess up with their concealment, if they get spotted without having to utilize the radar, Gdansk can absolutely chunk them. The damage output is pretty good. The only thing about the Gdansk that it does not have AP, it has only HE shells, okay? But I would still say that the HE shell is the best HE, like it's the best shell ammunition in the game. Not giving AP, I don't really mind. Could be better because it would be straight up better Kleber, I would say, with the reload booster running, because the reload time is amazing at 3.3 seconds with these 7 guns. So you can see here where it's going. The HP pool is also pretty good, although it does not come up with the French saturation mechanics. So keep that in mind. The anti-air defense, again, that's where it started to show the signs where Smaland shines, and that is its anti-air defense. Anti-air defense is completely trash. Smaland has extremely good anti-air defense, so that's where it will suffer against carriers. But at least you have smoke. You have smoke, you can farm them, you have radar, you have speed boost. It's not like the speed boost found on Smaland and Ragnar, but it still improves the capability of the maneuverability of Gdansk a lot by having even 8% speed boost. Now, maneuverability is something where I should talk about. It has already 43.3 seconds speed with speed flag. And engine boost will get it up to like 47, 48 knots. So it's again already having very good speed characteristics, okay? Because it's almost like Kleber, but having a different flavor of nation. And you can put Jersey Swirsky, which does help a ton, even though you won't be able to shoot down planes, but then you do have torpedoes. Only 10 kilometers, so if enemy team is pushing towards you, then you can utilize them, sure. Otherwise, I don't think so. It's going to be pretty good. But still, they can get a flood. They have slightly higher damage compared to Holland and Smaland Trops, which I was pretty baffled to watch. Like, why the numbers are slightly higher on these torpedoes? I don't know. They could have improved it to like 13, 14k, but never mind. But that's what Gdansk really is. Radar, which having short cooldown time. Again, I haven't even talked about that. Like 57 seconds cooldown time. So you can just completely utilize the radar quickly. You have 5 radar consumables, which is really nice. You do have 4 smokes. So you can see here where this is going. It does not have heal. It does not have good AA. And that's one of the, I would say, weakness. It does not have AP. These are the weakness, but the weakness is quite low and the strengths are way high. And I would definitely put it to maybe 1.5 or at even 2 rating. So I would maybe even put it into the bonus ranking list. But still, it's an amazing pick. You can also pick it because free, so you can get it on ranked battles. In the honorable mentions, I should definitely consider Vampire 2 as well as Marceau. They're really interesting in ranked battles. Okay, let's talk about the Vampire 2 first. Now, it's basically having pretty much similar characteristics to Daring. I would definitely prefer Daring over Vampire 2, but Vampire 2 has something which some players might be interested in, which is crawling smoke generator. So if you move like at 1/4 of the speed, the smoke will stay with you even at that speed. Which means that if you move even at faster speeds, you will be out of the smoke, but the smoke is still going to be staying with you for 1/48 seconds. And this is the big difference that it has compared to Daring. Daring has short smokes, it has crawling smoke generator. You can always able to spot the battleship for a brief time by just getting out of the smoke, and you slow down to put yourself back into the smoke, and you just farm over and over again by spotting, getting unspotted, spotted, and by getting unspotted, which you cannot do. Which you cannot do in Daring. Keep that in mind. It has speed boost, even though I haven't talked about the acceleration that it has better, just like Daring. Daring also have British improved acceleration. Vampire 2 also comes up with speed boost, which does help a lot even more with acceleration. And then you have hydroacoustic surge. Not 3 km, but 5 km. Again, you can crawl towards the other DDs with this smoke, and you can pop hydro. So you can do this pretty devastating, pretty lethal, I would say, shenanigans with that crawling smoke and hydro combo. So I won't say that it's bad at all. In fact, it's really, really good if you know what you're doing. But again, compared to Daring, it does not have heal. I think this is the biggest downside. The crawling smoke, if you utilize it in a wrong way, you will waste it all the time, all the way. And when you need it, you have a cooldown time, which means that in between 48 seconds-ish, your next smoke will arrive. So this is something that really makes me not happy when I play Vampire 2 in ranked battles. Anti-defense, pretty much similar, nothing to brag about. It's pretty bad, I would say. The maneuverability, I think, is slightly better in Vampire 2. The DPM, I would say, slightly better than Daring. I haven't talked about that. Like, it has like 10% better DPM over Daring. So this is pretty impressive, I would say. Like, Daring DPM, and it's getting better on Vampire 2. Ooh. It does hurt, man. Broadside AP will definitely going to penetrate, just like on Daring. So overall, the package is interesting and unique, and since it's a special destroyer, you will earn slightly more credits than Daring. So I think picking Vampire 2 is also a good option. Another good option that I would say is going to be the Marceau. Again, similar to Kleber, but in a different way. The guns have 8 of them, just like Kleber, but having low caliber. The reload time is absurd at 2.9 seconds. So it's like a permanent reload booster Kleber with, I would say, poor shell velocity. It's having so bad shell arcs at long ranges that it's going to be really difficult to shoot the battleship around more than 11 kilometers or 12 kilometers. So yeah, you have to lead a lot, way much leading a lot compared to Kleber. One of the downside, it does have a French saturation. Torpedoes are having more, like, less damage. Speed is low, but again, you have increased 9 kilometer range. So a lot much more easier to drop battleships if they are even, moving in straight line, showing broadside. So you can just send those torpedoes. If they are bowing in, that would be even better. Anti-defense is something that I want to talk about because that's definitely better than Kleber. And with the defensive wave fire, it will get a lot better, I would say. With defensive wave fire, you can actually able to fend off aircraft carriers pretty well. And considering your speed is again 55 knots with engine boost, just like Kleber, you have a good chance in dodging a lot of those HE bombers of Midway or maybe other ships that are shooting HE rockets, maybe Audacious shooting HE rockets. You can speed juke with the Marceau and Kleber by shooting down the planes extra in return, which is really good. Concealment, 7.7 kilometer. It's better than Kleber. I haven't built Marceau with concealment, and you can get it up to like 7.1 or 7 kilometers. So that's definitely a lot better than Kleber. Overall, it's a unique Kleber with its own value that it comes up with, especially with the insane guns. Like if there's a destroyer that gets spotted, you will, just like Kleber with the reload booster, absolutely going to obliterate it. But in a permanent reload booster that it has, at least at close ranges. But at long ranges, the shells will not going to land. So it's not going to be easy, at least at long ranges. On the other hand, Kleber will do a lot better in that regard. So Marceau, a very good top pick, but I would say play it if you are an expert destroyer player, and otherwise it's going to be a lot difficult, even more difficult compared to Kleber. So that's basically about this whole rank battle picks for destroyers. What do you think? Are these ships that I have mentioned, I have reviewed, worth it? What ships are you gonna be playing in ranked battles? Please let me know in the comments, and I will catch you guys into the next video. Peace out.